So yeah, hello internet. I'm here with Maverick, the man and the brains behind 550 Performance. And I haven't seen that many interviews with you online, so I thought it might be interesting to see the man behind the business and hear some thoughts that you have, maybe for the products that I've displayed in this video, or in general about the company and about what you do. I will start by asking you, what can you or what are you willing to tell about yourself to the internet? You don't have to say everything, but if you want to tell something about yourself and the background that
Yep.
yeah.
I don't know. I'm background was as an engineer for several years. It's my background in schooling and stuff like that, and really liked it. Yeah, sorry, none of this is rehearsed, so it's all top of my head
Yeah,
here.
no
But
worries, no worries. We're just
um,
chilling here. No need to do any monologues or anything. Just
yeah,
just
I
a
don't know.
quick
Like
chat.
most of this stemmed out of this creativity over the years, building stuff, circuits and electronics, mechanicals. I always liked engines and stuff like that ever since I was a little kid, working on those model planes to mopeds and stuff when I was young, and gradually growing up into bigger bikes, bigger vehicles, cars and stuff like that. So, actually like calibration stuff, tuning engines stuff. I've probably been doing that since, I don't know, 2010 from like an EFI standpoint, earlier with the carburetors and stuff like that as well. And then professionally, I mean, I've had experience on professional and actual like OEM level vehicles, power sports and stuff like that for, I don't know, 5 to 8 years at this point now, on and off. So yeah, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just been a passion of, solving problems, controlling things, manipulating things, and it's been rewarding when you get it to work. And it's what kind of keeps me going. The business kind of came around. And it was just I was making like little electronic things to add onto like bikes or side by sides and things like that for like, that play with like your brake lamps and stuff like that to pulse them, or um, tap into some of the CAN signals on the communication buses, and tweak them a little bit to give some extra features. So the business actually formed around that, just to kind of provide myself a legal buffer between my personal life and my business endeavors, or just as a liability coverage, essentially, more than anything. And then I had actually been toying with the CRF, the 250L, for a while already, tuning it and stuff like that, reverse engineering the ECU. And I think I had actually offered that, or had capability to tune it, probably for 3 years prior to offering it for sale. And it was just kind of an idea I had spitballed to my wife. I'm like, hey, I mean, what are your thoughts on this? Like, and definitely do it. There doesn't really seem like there's a whole lot of a market out there for it. And, like starting out this, like missed the COVID, like 2020. And my original pitch was like, we'll just buy a couple ECUs, we'll offer them as cores that are pre-flashed, and we'll just kind of keep circulating those. And I don't know, from there, it really just kind of proliferated. And that was about the same time that the CRF 300L came out too. So we were able to get into that because it's the same protocols that the 250 used in the mapping. The strategies that Honda uses are very similar across all their like power sport platforms. So like the methodologies they do for controlling, say, a CRF 250L or a Grom is very similar to what they would use for controlling, say, a CBR 1000 or a Honda Talon or something like that. So that's kind of nice. So you kind of know what you're looking for once you kind of reverse engineered one. I mean, you still have to go into some of the details because there are subtle variances between each platform. So even like, say, my CB500X to your NX500, the calibrations and the fuel-based fuel tables, spark tables and stuff like are identical one-to-one, but there's some additional logic in there to interface with like that torque control stuff, the updated TFT and stuff like that. But that's how you're driving, what you feel at the end of the day. That's nothing, that core isn't changing, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's kind of been our bread and butter, I guess, working on those platforms. And yeah, the NX, the CB500FX, the CBR technically too, just because that engine platform is the same across all three. The differences is really color of the engine and pretty much it. So from like the calibration standpoints between those bikes, the only differences is just the model codes and stuff like that, and the actual calibration itself and the part number on the sticker, which is kind of cool because it covers a wide range of vehicles. And I mean, the tune itself has decent gains for what it is. Like, personally, I would love to see higher numbers. Like, I held on to it for so long because I really wanted to hit 50 horsepower on it, but honestly, the gains that you receive in terms of torque have been, I don't know, they're definitely what I would consider where your usable power is. So it's like, I've always believed that power is definitely a marketing number, but torque is what actually gets the work done.
Yeah, and I kind of have to say about that, the NX was a little bit missing in the mid-range RPMs, and I was definitely missing some punch, some torque, especially in the mid-range, in the 4,000 to 6,000 RPM range. And with this tune, I definitely notice a punch right where I kind of want it to be when I do off-road. I want to slide my back end quite easily just using a throttle, and it definitely helps to give that a little bit more punch to the mid-range. And I don't really miss any top-end power on this bike when I do off-road, and doing like long-distance travel, it's pretty comfortable bike in that sense as well. So yeah, you told me that you have been working with these kind of products and this kind of field on your day job as well. So maybe that accumulates some knowledge and understanding as well to the 550 performance side of things. And
it's a little bit of a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah, but you definitely, when I've talked to you previously, I definitely know that you know your stuff, and I like working with people that actually know what they do. And these are very interesting products to me, especially because I already did the CRF tunes, and I was so happy with those because the difference was massive with that bike. You mentioned that you work with Hondas, like the 250 starting out. And you mentioned that the software is pretty similar across the board with Hondas. Is that the only reason you work mostly on Honda products, or is there something else?
I mean, I'm not opposed to going to a different product line. At this point, I have the protocols pretty well reverse engineered on the Honda, so it makes segueing into one of their other products easier. From a pure marketing and salability standpoint, Honda has a pretty good grasp hold on the market itself. Looking at it from that, business standpoint. So like Honda is outselling, the Yamahas and stuff like that. Maybe not necessarily here in the States, but like elsewhere in the world. Say CRF 300Ls, like, the WR250 it was the better bike. The CRF 300 and 250, I mean, the WR250 out of the gate is a better bike than both of those. Has better suspension, has better power. When you're looking at it solely from like the, actual true enduro-esque side of dual sporting, single tracks like that, way more capable bike. However, it's decently more expensive, and while it fits more the needs of the niche market that might be here in the States and maybe in places of Europe, the 250 is a world bike, and the 300L is also a world bike. And that just only fits the needs of most people here in the States and most rider capabilities. Same thing in Europe. It's also Asia. It's also Australia. It's also like, I'm sure I'm missing some other one, but South America, same as well. Like, it's a world bike. There's a lot bigger like business argument and big business market there to work with. And that's a $300. 500's very similar in that regard. The 450 is kind of probably our one niche, and the Talon are probably our niche segments because it's more focused on North America here. But there are still 450s 450s over by in Europe yet, in Australia, but most of our sales segment in that has been North America and US and Canada. But I mean, that's a big reason for sticking with the Honda infrastructure and platform. I mean, there are segues to go to other bikes too from this. It seems like our wasn't really intentional initially, but our platform kind of seems like it really tailors towards dual sports, which necessarily dual sports don't always seem like to get a much as much love in the tuning segments, performance segments. So it's kind of lines up, but it's just kind of, those are the bikes that I like working on, like riding. So I mean, I've ridden sport bikes, I've enjoyed sport bikes, but it's just never been I don't know, I've been the kind of person that says, all right, let's go see where this trail's going to go and end up, or poke around or snoop on things. So.
I'm exactly the same. My background is sport bikes and road bikes. I've rode them like 10 years before I ever rode anything off-road. And when the first time I actually put knobbies on my bike and took it on a gravel road, that's I was sold. Like I rarely ride tarmac anymore because I'm just in love with this hobby, and it never got boring to me so far. So yeah, riding road bikes, especially here in Finland, there's not that many places you can actually have fun with those kind of bikes. But gravel tracks we have everywhere. There's like millions of miles of gravel here, so it's kind of natural to prefer that option and have more things to see and more things to ride. So yeah, I kind of understand that. So yeah, so there's a clear business perspective in this going towards Honda, and I can actually say from my own statistics in the channel, now that I've started making NX content, I've noticed that Indians have been looking at my channel a lot more than previously. So you can definitely notice that certain specific areas globally, these bikes are a really hot bike, and they sell probably a lot. And I think Honda just broke a record of 500 million bikes globally. Was that the right number? I hope I didn't.
Yeah, I don't remember, but it was arbitrarily large number, and it's like
something insane. Like, okay, yeah, that's understandable. They sell a lot of these bikes, so yeah, the market is definitely there to sell something like this. Even though these are products like niche products, and some customers are not interested in something like this. But I'm definitely happy that you have something for the NX as well now. So yeah, awesome. But yeah, that was quite a good background on you and how you started the company. It kind of, like many companies, it starts kind of by accident, and you start trying something out and just happens to flow. But yeah, I guess you have quite a lot of customers already right now. CRF probably sells a lot of those packages, the ECUs and stuff.
Yep.
So, and I actually noticed that, I don't know, how much have you done anything with Ari Henning, because he has the big bore kit to this bike, and you have the tune that actually goes with that CRF big bore kit. So have you been involved with Ari at some point?
Yep.
Or
Ari and myself, we go back and forth almost on a daily. It seems like we're texting or emailing, going through different hardware things. If we have, hardware things that need to be addressed or tune things, he'll go through and we'll review tunes and stuff like that together. If he wants to make any changes or if I have recommendations for him, it's a very good symbiotic relationship. It's kind of nice for myself because I don't have a whole lot of time always. So it's nice for him to handle a lot of the hardware-esque things of the development, and then I can focus on the actual calibration and the strategy of all that. So
yeah, the hardware stuff is probably a lot of labor and a lot of time to even design, later on create the products like this intake that you have for the NX. How did that come about? Is it your own design, or have you worked with someone with that? Okay.
No, that's my own design. So yeah, I had when I was younger, starting out in my engineering field, I was I won't say necessarily a master modeler, but I was very well versed in solid modeling. So I'm still fairly fluent on it. Like that was all my own design. Same thing like airbox lids and stuff like that, velocity stacks. I do all that design stuff, which I enjoy, but also turns into a rabbit hole fairly quickly. So, but it's just again one of those things. Like over the years, like my thing was always just like learning new skills and things over the years. So I'm big on being able to like build my own things and stuff like that and design my own things. And there's a lot of failings in the process. Don't get me wrong. Like that velocity stack, there was, oh my God, how many iterations of played with low pressure injection molding, rubber molding, casting. Eventually just settled on the 3D printed part, which honestly bugged the crap out of me for the longest time, just because I want it to be aesthetically pleasing and has to look OE grade. And so it's like just getting over my own kind of OCD in that regard. I mean, functionally it does the job and holds up well, and it's been an awesome part and it performs really well. So it's like kind of have to sometimes get past my own mental hurdles on that stuff.
I think you nailed it. I think you nailed the design on that part, because the first thing I did when I noticed that, took the part out of the box, I'm like, I'm not gonna put this on the bike. I'm gonna put it on the shelf to be a decoration, because it's a nice product. Yeah.
Yep.
In that sense as well. And I actually love the fact that I can get a washable filter for the NX, because otherwise I haven't found anything online. Maybe there is something, but I haven't found anything that would be a foam washable filter. And now that I get the surface area to be that big, it's not gonna need that wash all the time. It's gonna take a long time to cake up. So that's a big bonus in my opinion on this stage tune, because you get other benefits like the washable filter as well. And it's a uni filter, so yeah, perfect. It's I think that was partly the reason that I wanted to do this tune is I wanted to find some alternative for the filter solution, because the stock filter is kind of hard to change. And if I have a paper filter, it's going to need changing quite often because I ride in groups as well. So that's going to be a big issue going forward. So a big benefit in that sense. And I think we already kind of touched on the Honda stuff. And is there something else you can tell me about the process you had? When did you start and how did it come about to create these products, and what's the like a history on the NX kit? Because I know I have been talking to you about 6 months, but you already had something cooked by the time that I contacted you. So
so the like the intake manifold, I had been working on that for, of course, over been probably 2 years almost now. I mean, it was just me kind of dabbling with things. So like you start playing on the dyno and understanding, okay, this is a stock platform power, right? You just do some baselines, find your best power run, and then you start playing with things like the, airbox lid. Let's remove the airbox lid. Oh, it turns out you can find some additional power there by doing that. Okay, well, there's not a great way to remove the airbox lid on this vehicle because the air filter is integral to that design there, because it bolts to it, and kind of a funky, like backwards air filter design. Where it flows from like the clean side out almost, and then deciphering some of the cylinder intake ports, the throttle bodies a little bit, and where those original velocity stacks go in. Actually, if you take a close look at the velocity stacks, where they sit in the throttle body is actually smaller than the throttle body by a couple millimeter. So you already took a smallish throttle body. It's like 34 millimeters, and you made it smaller, which arguably would help on your low end torque. But this bike isn't really struggling for low end torque, and kind of just goes into the whole design decisions that Honda made for this bike. And as you said in your video, this is an A2 licensed bike, right? It's designed for a 35 kilowatt, not an ounce more per regulation. Luckily, in America here, we inherit the same exact 35 kilowatts, and I mean, the way Honda designed this engine platform, that was their goal. 35 kilowatts, not a ounce more. So like off the top of my head, this is like one of the few engines I know of that's in a motorcycle that's a perfectly square motor, meaning the bore and stroke are exactly the same. Whereas it's much more common to have an over square engine, meaning the bore is bigger than the stroke and it will want to rev out more, and you can grab more top end power that way typically. You can get bigger valves and stuff in there. Whereas this is kind of more like automotive, where automotive is typical to have a square or sometimes under square engine, where it's more stroke bias, gives you more low end torque. So they did that to keep the power and torque low and then taper off. So your peak power number, 35 kilowatts, you're basically signing off anyways in terms of power, but you can still get some nice low end torque. Same thing on their camshafts. They're one of the most docile pair of cam specs that I've ever seen. So I mean, that is something that I've been investigating, is different cams for this bike, just to make it a little more interesting. But yeah, that's kind of mean everything Honda did, the airbox, the exhaust system, the camshafts, the bore stroke, it was meant for 35 kilowatts. That's what they designed it for, not an ounce more. So like the airbox is designed to pass just enough air to get to 35 kilowatts. Because like you've seen the dyno charts where we take off the stock airbox and leave the stock exhaust system and put on our intake manifold, and you pick up a couple horse and some decent torque again. So I mean, it's kind of showing that it's significantly flow restricted at that point. But again, from 35 kilowatt perspective, it makes exactly what it was meant to make. Yeah. So not that Honda was wrong, they just had a demographic and a marketable number in mind up front, and they designed to that and not an ounce more. So I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just from our perspective, just gives something else to work towards. So I mean, that's cool. And I mean, during the intake manifold process, I mean, we went from taking stuff off, just testing on the dyno, put it on the flow bench, understood how much it's flowing from the stock perspective, played with some aftermarket filter setups and what they were yielding. And then I played with a couple different manifold setups. So originally we had a 2-into-2. So instead of having the one filter into two throttle bodies like we do now, where it looks like a Y, it was two individual ones. We had two pod filters on it, which yields a bit more top end, gets us to like almost 49. However, the trade-off is you just don't get that nice torque bump, which to us, the torque bump was worth more than the linear power gain. Made the bike a little more usable and again fun to ride. Actually, the thing that I thought was kind of interesting actually after getting back on it back to back, stock to not stock, was stock bike. It's the torque curve on it it's like a DC motor. It's just linear, which depending who you ask is a dream. For others, not the dream because it's so predictable. It just becomes boring really quick. Whereas like with the higher flowing air intake, you get a non-linear torque curve now, right? There's an actual curve. It's not a line, and you can feel in mid-range, like you can feel that difference in pull on your physical body, and it just makes it a hair more interesting again. So,
exactly. Yeah, I've probably never ridden a bike that has this kind of a flat curve that this NX. It's perfectly perfectly flat. So I've heard many people say that it's boring, so it's not wrong to say that. Doesn't mean it's a bad bike or anything, but it does make the bike's character kind of a boring character. So I definitely missed some of that excitement from a bit of a more interesting engine. But yeah, you can probably pull a lot out of this by changing hardware as well at some point. So maybe there's more stages coming in the line. Who knows? We can't really promise anything. Probably you can't. But like you stated, there might be some camshaft change that could bring out something out of this engine. But as it is right now in the stage 1, I kind of like it already like this. But I wouldn't be against putting something more in there someday. I like to tinker and I like to work with my bike, so it's kind of fun as well for me. So that's interesting. I've noticed from your descriptions of the current situation is that you're going to sell the stock enhanced, the 0.5 stage, and the stage 1 that I have on this bike now. Can you tell something about those different stages?
Yeah, that's the stock improved or stock enhanced. That's just literally you're taking a completely stock bike. We review go through the timing and stuff like that, play with that a little bit, and just get your best torque time. Because again, Honda did at the end of the day go into calibration. They limited so you don't make an ounce more than 35 kilowatts to meet their government requirements. But literally in this case, we can play with the timing and massage it back to what the actual engine wants, not necessarily what the government wants from a compliance standpoint. We can get it back to that, nominal power. There wasn't a huge amount on the table, but I think it was like 5 or 6% for doing nothing else. Trying to think. I mean, there's a couple other little nice things that are added in there, so you don't have those, additional sensors and stuff always needed on the system. Your secondary air injection and stuff like that is something that can be disabled at certain points. And
that has to be said that's in the Eurobike that I have.
Not so much
if you don't do the ECU, even if you buy the stock enhanced ECU, then you can change the slip-on without getting the bike all fiddly about the O2 sensor in the rear. So that's one way of going about changing the slip-on. If you just want to change the slip-on and just keep the rest of the pipe stock, you could change just the stock enhanced and don't have that engine light issue, which is a big thing for some customers.
Yep, and that's kind of our focus points again. We don't want nuisance things like nuisance mills and stuff that are on that are annoying the customers and stuff like that. So none of our tunes should have any fault lights as a result of doing these common things. Same thing with like the 300Ls, like that was the same idea there as well. What else touch on? Stock or stage 1.5, or sorry, half is you keep your full stock exhaust system and you throw on a that manifold, intake manifold, which again you get some decent little gains with. Sounds awesome, because the nice thing is about that, it's nice and quiet when you're cruising, but if you do crack it open, it does have some throaty sound to it actually, and sounds like a real engine, not a sewing machine anymore.
And you can wash the filter, which is a big benefit.
Yep. And then on the stage 1, again, it's typically what's ideal is a full exhaust system, but you can run your stock head pipe and stuff on there and throw some slip-on, but turns out the catalyst isn't super restrictive on these bikes just because they're oversized. They come from the bigger platforms that Honda just commonizes the cores, from what I've understood, which makes sense just so they get their volumes on the catalyst, get better price points. Whereas like in automotive, it's more common to seem to be restrictive just because they're, in terms of the exhaust pipe diameter to the catalyst diameter, it's little more of a flow obstruction. Whereas here you're talking about like, yeah, maybe an 1.5-inch pipe, 2-inch pipe went into a 4-inch core. So it's not as...
So the biggest benefit is probably the weight.
Weight and just like this big, and some heat that's actually kicked off by the catalyst itself. I mean, if people have questions, they're more than welcome to reach out. I mean, my gist is typically I prefer people to be comfortable with what they're getting, understand what they're getting, instead of just diving into something. So, I mean, I like to actually talking through the technical details of stuff. So inclined to reach out.
Yeah, that was actually the reason I wanted to have this kind of a interview kind of situation with you, because I don't want people to just have to listen to some dumb YouTubers say stuff about this, because I don't know anything about mechanics and I'm not a technical engineer or engine engineer. Other fields like that I do, but this kind of stuff, you are the better person to talk to. And if you have any questions about the tuning stages, better to reach out to Maverick and not ask me in the comments. Of course you can, and I will answer if I know the answer. But definitely get the answer straight from Maverick, and that's a better path. But yeah, thank you 1,000 times for letting me talk to you like this on camera, and because it's not always a given that some people might not like that. But yeah, you were awesome and you gave so much more info that I even dreamed about. So this is going to be a great addition to the video. But yeah. Oh yeah, you had something.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say thanks for working with me in this process too, because I mean there's plenty of back and forth and us kind of working through things, understanding the system a little bit more on the like your slightly newer Euro bike, and working through a couple little caveats and headaches there in that process with like your HISS systems and immobilizers. And
we had a little bit of a back and forth because there are some differences in the bike there in the America.
Of the ECUs,
So we had to work a little bit to get this done, but it's nice that we got there in the end.
No, and then, like I said, there's good lessons learned in the process, good documentation stuff that happened on my side. And the cool thing now is like we get a world calibration sensor that comes out of this that is fairly modular, that we can go between a Euro bike, a North American bike, etc. So that's kind of, again, for us, there's definitely value added and all that.
Yeah. Now I was kind of expecting that we're going to have some back and forth during the winter time and maybe even the springtime, but I think this got there at the end pretty much in the schedule that I had in mind, because I kind of need to get this project bike ready during this summer, because I'm going to ride it to Portugal most likely. That's just a dream right now, but hopefully I can leave Finland in September and this bike is going to accommodate with me to that trip. So yeah, I think technically this bike is already 99% there. So I have a few episodes to come about the luggage and tools and decals and stuff like that. But this was a major part of the build. And this was actually one of the biggest reasons I bought the NX in the first place, because I contacted you first that, do you have anything planned for the NX? And then you had some ideas and some products already developed. So I just pulled ahead and bought the bike. Mainly because of that, because I knew I could make something interesting to YouTube about this bike, and I want to try what we can create. And it's been awesome so far, and the bike is starting to feel great. So happy both ends.
Yeah, no kidding. Yep. Any like future bike aspirations, platforms that you're looking at, or?
Not right now. I don't. I suspect. Well, actually, the DR-Z is interesting because we haven't had that bike in decades here, because they stopped selling that because of Euro restrictions. And now that we got the new bike, that's a very interesting bike to maybe be a friend to the CRF or replace the CRF. We will see. I've put so much money and time on that CRF that I don't know if I want to sell it.
Yeah. You never return on that?
Yeah, it's not a good return on that bike. But the DR-Z is actually the only bike that I'm really interested in. But I don't have the money to do that this year. But maybe next springtime I could do that and do a project on that bike. But that would be it doesn't really need that much, I don't think. It's pretty powerful right from the box. Like, it pushes probably a bit more than the Stage 4 CRF 300. Stock. It's like 40 horsepower or something like that, and the weight is pretty similar. If the suspension is like livable, I'm willing to pay the price. It's 12,000 euros here. which is kind of crazy.
That's pretty rough. Yeah.
Can you imagine? I paid 9,000 euros Finnish prices for the NX, and the DR-Z is 12,000 here.
Yeah, I want to say for like the CB, I paid probably 75, 78 USD. So that's would have been less than euro even technically.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty close right now.
Bikes are just stupidly priced because the taxes are crazy. So yeah, and the VAT is 25.5% now. So one of the highest in the world. So that's just something I have to deal with when I do this hobby. This would be much cheaper if I lived in the States to do all this, like Big Rock Moto.
Depends if it comes from China or not.
Yeah, well, that's true. Yeah, that could be an issue. I don't know the CF Moto prices there right now, but I guess they're.
Oh yeah, I should ask about that.
If they can even buy that bike now, I don't know. But yeah, it's a pain to live in Finland in that sense. But yeah, I don't have any aspiration. I don't really even know if I want to be this channel that always kind of tinkers with something. I'm not. No, I don't know if that's like the main focus. But right now it's been a lot of the channel because I just post everything I do basically. I rarely think about. This was actually the first project that I thought, okay, I'm gonna actually do a video series because the CRF videos they just come about me doing something
as you did
with
it,
the bike. Yeah, I just wanted to share that I'm doing this and changing the tank or doing something like that. But now that I'm doing this a little bit more professionally, not in the sense that I make money out of it, but I try to push the quality on these videos a little bit more. Like I have a studio, I film with the DSLR, and I try to push the edits a little bit higher. Like this video compared to the CRF video, there's a huge difference in quality and fluff in the video. Like I usually, if I took 30 minutes to tell something on video, right now I do it in 10 minutes. And that kind of I'm gonna trying to push the videos a little bit in a tighter package so they're easier to consume and people will like them more. But yeah, I don't know. I would like to make more travel content and stuff like that. But yeah, it kind of has to be something a little different than things that everyone is doing. So I don't know. I've been thinking about quitting YouTube a long time ago already. I'm just getting bored sometimes because right now when I had this project, I had so many companies waiting for the video and I promised to do a video and it kind of makes it less fun because I don't.
You have a second job now?
Yeah, exactly. I don't want that because I'm like the money I've made from YouTube in 3 years. Well, maybe 2 years monetized. It's the same amount of money I make in a month in my day job. So it's really not about the money. So when a company tries to push some schedule to me, I don't care about this video that much. Yeah, but some videos are more interesting. Like this video was definitely interesting. A challenge to do because there's so much to think about when you try to film every single part. But some other videos are like, I don't know if I want to do that. But I kind of promised myself when I started this video series that I'm going to document primarily everything important I'm going to have on video. So it's going to be this evergreen content that people can watch in 10 years down the line because the NX it's not going anywhere. It's going to sell so much.
Honda, they didn't screw around designing this one particular engine that fits these three models just to throw it away. I mean, it's the same engine that's been around since 2013.
Yeah. And there's not really any need to change any drastically. So they're going to probably sell this.
The only thing they knew it's going to happen is bold new graphics and styling
for 10 years at least. Yeah, that's true.
They'll tweak the camshaft profile here and there so they can get an even flatter torque curve.
Yeah,
that's all they've done over the generations.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good thing about Honda, that there is a lot of viewers that are interested. The CRF content is something that built the channel up in the first place because there's so many people interested in that bike. Even though the content was pretty shit in the beginning, people were still watching and liking the video. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna post more of this, and now I just kind of wanted to see if the NX content done more professionally would actually gain more traction. But it remains to be seen. I haven't really seen all that much like huge traction on the videos, but they're pretty steady performance, I think, on all of those videos. So yeah, I'm looking forward to this episode to being the number 1 on that series, which would mean that it hopefully will go past the CRF tuning video at some point. But yeah, that's the goal. And I kind of, with these videos, I always hope that I can provide value to the company as well, because any company that's willing to work with me, it is a nice thing, because my channel is tiny in comparison to bigger channels, and I do this kind of like a hobby. So it's always nice. And I always take a little bit of stress in the sense that I want to make something that is actually good. So yeah, thank you. You are probably the only company that have been involved in 2 episodes, a huge episode, maybe 3, because this is going to be a separate one. So yeah, that's an enormous thing for me. And when I did the CRF video, I had like maybe 2,000 subscribers, and you still sent me some stuff for free. So that was a huge thing for me. And I'm happy to see that the video, even though it wasn't all that great, it still got so many views. But yeah, thanks for the talk. This was really awesome and went better than I expected. Not that you were the question mark. I was the question mark. I'm not an interviewer. I really don't know what I'm doing here. But I thought, okay, let's just have this chat and look how it goes. And I'll try to edit it down to 15, 20 minutes of the most important stuff. And yeah, we'll see what people say.
Yeah, awesome. Well, appreciate the time.
All right. Have a nice day.
Yeah, you as well. Bye.